Hey guys, what's going on? This is Brad from the Ed Army, and today we have the finally long-awaited how to budget, what you should do with the Rarity collection. So before I get into it, as always, like, subscribe, comment down below, and let me know how you guys are feeling. Also, thank you guys so much for 50 subs. I appreciate it a lot, and we're finally here. We're halfway to 100 subs, and we're still on that race to get there. So if you are watching this and you like what you see, please subscribe, and let's get there together. Now, with the Rarity collection, many people are heralding this set as the savior to Yu-Gi-Oh!, effectively being the set that's going to fix a lot of the problems that we've had due to the fact that we have lots of reprints coming in that will be cheap in different rarities, as well as staple cards that will help in the metagame. Now, that is definitely true, and I think the Rarity collection as a whole is something that we should be happy that we did receive. However, there are some things that I have as caveats to it. First being that there was a lot of these reprints that we are missing, as well as very expensive cards that just released in Age of Overlord, which do kind of hurt this set because it does make us wonder, wow, even if we get some of these staples cheap, will it really make us playing Yu-Gi-Oh! A bit better with the lack of something like the Diabell Star Engine, Horus, and SP Little Knight? However, this isn't a set to, or at least this video isn't to focus on bashing the set. It's more of understanding about what we still need. However, let's focus on what we can do. And more importantly, here's some food for thought of how to spend your money here. Now, as always, I actually have decided to make a plan of attack for you guys, and this is how I went about it for myself. So first and foremost, writing a list of wants and needs is the first thing that I would approach this as. And the reason why is kind of simple. If you want to know what you need and want, you're able to list them down and kind of get a gauging of how you should pick it up. Maybe you're preparing for an event. Maybe it's your first locals. I don't know. Maybe you want to go to a YCS. You know, all these things kind of go against each other in their own area. And the best way for me to do this is to set it up so that you can kind of figure out where you want to do this. And for me, it's pretty obvious that when you figure out what you need versus what you want, it's a little bit easier for you to spend your money because then you don't have to worry about having to blow it on something that maybe you're not really going to use even though you want it, and get the cards you actually need so that you can play the game effectively. Now, the next step we're going to have is deciding on a budget. So deciding on a budget usually is the first step with a lot of my videos because it's usually what we're going to have to work with. However, in this case, I wanted people to make the list first because of the unique quality that the Rarity collection has. Having so many different rarities for specific cards means you can mix and match. Deciding if maybe you want a rarity bump, maybe you just want the lowest rarity to get the card, or maybe you want to splurge a bit. This is why I decided to put the budget secondary, because if you decide what you want and need, you can kind of work around with the money a bit if you actually know that you don't care about maybe the rarity, or maybe you want a specific rarity and maybe can work around that price range. So your budget is going to be next, at least for this one. Finally, we're going to select from the list. Now, I didn't necessarily need to put this on here as something to tell you guys, but there's a big reason why. When you're selecting from your list, you're going to go through it probably a few times if you're being patient. If you're being impatient, that's completely fine. I do that a lot. I might shotgun, buying something. But for this case specifically, guys, I want you guys to use this list that you created for yourself and select from it as you need to go. So you may need to go through it 4 or 5 times, maybe even 10 if you need. But the point is, you have a list of what you need and what you want, and you can pick from it as you go. So selecting from the list is a very important step because it is the decision making that you're going to have before you purchase, which is obviously the last step, purchasing what you need. I actually put purchasing as its own step because unlike other situations that most people do when they make a list, this is actually an option, but when you do it, you get to pick. So whether you're using Troll and Toad, eBay, like a personal vendor, buying sealed, buying whatever, right? There's these different little things that you have to think about when you're purchasing. So your purchasing kind of goes together. So believe it or not, this whole situation that I created for you guys with your plan of attack actually works for all the different facets that I just mentioned, whether you're buying in person, whether you're buying online, whether you're buying, through trading, whatever. These are all similar things that you need to do. And the reason why I'll just get this through with trading, if you're you need to decide a budget for if you're going to do trading, is that although it's technically not buying it, you still need to figure out, because if you don't have cards that match trade value, you can get stuck in a position that a lot of us get into where you want to be able to make a successful trade, but maybe the person you're trading with doesn't really see anything that they value in your stuff. So just keep that as food for thought as well. More importantly, the purchasing step is the key, because once you see that price range or whatever it is, whether you're using like TCG, which is like what most people do, if you're buying online using TCG Player, you get your total and see how much you're going to pay. You can really work with it, because if you see something that maybe costs too much, it can also help you with deciding if maybe you want to drop that one, go to a lower rarity. Maybe you realize you have a little bit more than you expected and go to a higher rarity. This is one of the really unique factors of the Rarity collection, because it really allows you to mix and match as you choose. Now, I know what probably everyone's wondering is, does this mean you can save money? And, well, my answer for you is kind of. And my biggest reason for kind of is actually some of the parts of why I'm going to say there are some issues with the Rarity collection. So I'll get into that in a second. But the reason I say kind of is, yes, it is going to save you some money if you follow these steps, because they do allow you to be a little bit more proactive with your money, or it lets you be proactive with your decision making. It lets you take some time to realize what you've got. It's one of those things that I think everyone can enjoy in terms of being able to utilize this information and knowledge, because you can apply this to anything you want. It's not just, Yu-Gi-Oh cards or whatever. The point is, you can use this to any TCG, anything you need to do. Maybe you need to buy, groceries or something. You could still all use all these practices to help you with your everyday life. So that's why I said it does kind of help you with Yu-Gi-Oh, but more importantly, these are things to help you with everyday life. Now, moving into some of the issues with the Rarity collection, I did need to talk about this just because I do think that whenever you're giving some type of budgeting advice, depending on how you're going to deliver it, so this one's basically showing you guys what you probably should go about when you buy stuff from this set. I think it's only important that I give you guys some of the issues with the set, just so you don't feel like you're caught, in the water with some things. So, first issue with Rarity collection, I think, is that it's missing certain cards. I do think that some people are probably going to say that you can't have everything, and that's absolutely true. However, there are some cards that really should have been in this set, because it really would have just bulked it up and helped it along the way. A few cards I think that missed this set that would have been really key are some of the remaining hand traps, like Droll and Lockbird, and even another reprint for Divine Arsenal AA Zeus. I do know that card will be getting its reprint in the new structure deck thing that we're getting in, I think, a couple of months or so, or a week or something before Christmas, obviously. But point is, we have a lot of new sets coming out, actually, alongside Rarity collection. And since we still have Valiant Smashers coming out, we know that eventually we're going to get the Fire King structure deck. I forgot when, but point aside, it will be coming. And then we also have this new structure deck set, which is going to have Zeus's reprint, but I really feel like they could have made another reprint for Zeus based solely on the fact that if they want to, they could have it in a budget tier. I do think that would have been nice for new players, because we're getting to a point where Yu-Gi-Oh is really into this situation where everybody is going to be needing high impact, high access cards that really do a lot of things, and a lot of them are still missing. I'm not going to talk about the cards from Age of Overlord, because I didn't expect them to get emergency reprints that quick. Point aside, there's a lot of cards that if we wanted to make the game a bit more balanced for people coming in, I think giving a little bit more access to cards, even in a situation like that, with it being reprinted in this structure deck set, I really do think that would have been nice to see Zeus in there. But hey, that's just one of them. Second thing that I have as an issue is most of the cards are going to be good, but there are still some duds. This is my opinion, of course, but let's talk about some of these cards. So some of the cards I think that are absolute, they're duds because they didn't really need to be in here, are definitely going to be Ice Barrier. I understand that card needed a reprint, but that probably could have found its way into the OTS pack. We also have the Iris Sword Soul. I actually really like the Iris Sword Soul. Personally, guys, I actually bought a few of them when they came out. And I actually kind of use that card in different tech decks because I really like its effect. But come on, for the Rarity collection, I don't see it needing to be in here. It could have easily have been in another Battles of Legend. Heck, it could have even been a reprint for the new Maze of Memories we're getting, or even a CR for Valiant Smashers if they really wanted to. It doesn't really, at least to me, see a purpose in there. Blue Eyes Abyss Dragon, that's another one that really confuses me, because personally, I do understand it probably needed a reprint, but I would rather like to see Alternative Dragon, if anything. That would have been really nice. And yes, there's a few more cards I could go on with, guys, but that's kind of the point. There's a lot of cards in there that didn't really necessarily need to be in this set. Yes, I do understand they needed, certain cards, but there's a lot of cards that universally would have needed it more. And ultimately, that's kind of where I'm seeing the issue with Rarity collection, is that there are still cards that are going to be duds. Personally, I'm not saying they need to make everything great, but I would have rather preferred they made everything at least usable in value, like some type of value retainment there. Even a card like Magician Souls, now that was a card I actually think was missing, because although it has reprints, it still is expensive. We would have loved to have seen another reprint for it, and a very usable card in a lot of decks, and will return at some point. But I digress. Let's move on to one of the other issues, and then that's getting into this set is the seal is very expensive, and your return isn't necessarily going to be bad, but it's going to take time. So what I mean by this is if you look at the price to get into this set, believe it or not, loose packs aren't too bad. So maybe you want to buy loose packs. But if you wanted to buy a sealed box or Rarity collection, it is not going to be easy. Most of them are sitting at above $80, and understandably, that's a lot of money because that's even more based online than most sets would be if you had to buy them in person. A lot of OTS stores have to make money, so usually they charge about $80, $90, $70 around that price point for this set. However, I've heard from some friends that were looking for trying to pick this up sealed, that unless they got in on the ground floor, some OTSs are like not being able to give it at the normal price. So the bump is about $90 to $100 for a sealed box of the Rarity collection. And yes, I do think you can make easy return on the set. The problem is getting it is going to be a big issue. 3 is just making sure you actually get enough of it to where you can satisfy your needs. And it's going to take time. And the reason why is since everybody knows what the set is, because it's all reprints, the money is really going to be focused on if you get these higher end Rarity cards. So you're not necessarily guaranteed them. You know, you could end up getting, I would say, some of the dud cards in the max rarities, or the higher ones like the Prismatic Ultimate, or even the Prismatic Collectors. I know a lot of these terms for the cards are like kind of, they're not ridiculous to me, but it's like, yeah, you got to kind of like them. I think they're all cool. Personally, I think most of it's overinflated because yes, like people in the OCG play with them, but here in the TCG, it matters probably a little bit less, honestly. It's just making it more affordable. So the rarities to me are kind of because most people aren't collecting, they're playing. So yeah, there's that issue there. So the return will take a while if you're trying to do investment or just trying to get money back. And honestly, the payoff could bust. And my reasonings for this is on a few of the cards in the set. The first one's actually going to be Pot of Prosperity. So I actually really like Prosperity. I need some myself, but my main issue with Prosperity falls in that if they decide to hit it on the ban list, which is something that is not necessarily it could not happen, right? Like it could happen. Then Prosperity will go from like maybe 3 to 2 or maybe 3 to 1. I do think it would probably go 3 to 2 instead of like going straight to 1. But my reasoning for this is a lot of these cards could hit the ban list. They could also be reprinted again. So, you know, this doesn't protect them just because. That means you'd have to go for something like a higher rarity. Like the exclusive rarities from specifically this set alone from Rarity Collection are going to be the ones that I think people are going to keep because they may not get reprinted again. So I'm just putting that forward to you guys. If you are worried and you want to have retainment value, you're probably going to have to go after the slightly higher or unique rarities because they will hold their value. Because anything that's Secret Ultra or Secret Ultra Super, there's a good chance that they could get reprinted again just because they're generically good. Something like Ash Blossom, there's a chance a Super could happen again, an Ultra could happen again, a Secret could happen again. You get the point. Those could happen again. So anything in those higher rarities could definitely assist in, you know, keeping the value there. So yeah, ultimately, all I'm going to get to you guys is obviously spend wisely. You know, if you're watching this, you're probably maybe wondering, maybe you just wanted to click through it, but ultimately just be a little bit responsible with your money and spend wisely because as always, one of the things I'll say in these videos is that you'd rather have money in your pocket to buy food than not being able to have food on the table because you know, you don't want to put yourself in a compromising spot. So, as always, that's what I have for those disclaimers. And I just have a little bit of a list of what you could do. These are obviously not as detailed as it can be, but very small. So just showing you what, if you're a beginner and you want to be able to pick up some of the necessities. Personally, I think you should pick up your Holy Trinity of hand traps first because they are in this set. And for once, I can definitely say that it's going to cost you under $20 to get them, which is absolutely fantastic for you, getting Nibiru, Ash, and Imperm. And then an additional list, just in case you obviously have more money. I would say pick up your additional hand traps. So this could be for beginners, people who don't have it, but also get your shifters, get your veilers, and get any of your various pot cards. Believe it or not, as long as Prosperity, Super, and Ultra stay a little bit lower, you're able to pick them up. So you will have access to those. And I also have the varying pots. So whether you need Desires, Extravagance, Prosperity, this is factored in for a bit. It's probably going to cost you about $30. This set could easily take you a lot of money out, or it'll be able to make you tick down to having a little bit of money in. The reason why is some of these cards will obviously be valuable in the future. So if you pick them up and you just hang on to them, there's a chance you will be able to use them in the future. But ultimately, guys, that's all I've got for you today. This has been the focus on the Rarity collection, and I just want to thank you guys for watching as always. And if you have anything you need to say, just let me know in the comments down below. But as always, I'm Brad from the Ad Army signing off. And for all of you out there, to sign on.